All right, everybody. So today we're going to cover solve the systems of equations by elimination 2. So again, a system means more than one equation, which we have here in the first example, equation 1, equation 2. And we're going to solve it by eliminating instead of graphing. We're going to find 2 points by eliminating instead of graphing. Now this first example, we're going to have to multiply by a number first. Before we eliminate, we're going to have to multiply by a number first. Now remember, our goal is to eliminate one of the variables, right? Eliminate, get rid of one of the variables. Now, 8 and 3 don't eliminate. 14 and 7, so 8 and negative 3 will not eliminate x. For positive 14 and negative 7 are close to eliminating y. Because all I have to do is change this 7 into a 14. I cannot change this 3 into an 8. There's nothing that multiplies 3 by to get 8. But there is something that multiplies 7 by to get 14, and that's 2. So if I parenthesis and I put a 2 on the outside, multiply by a number first, I'm going to multiply by this 2 here. So 2 times negative 3, 2 times negative 7, and I'm going to put this one under here. 2 times, because it's all the way over at the end. 2 times 8. So I'm going to multiply. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6x. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14y is equal to 2 times 8 is 16. Right? So technically, I don't even need this equation anymore because I changed it. Now you see this top equation here? I'm just going to write it down over here. Nothing changes right under my new equation. 8x plus 14y is equal to 2. Now I can eliminate because my negative 14y and my positive 14y cancel out. So my negative 8 and a positive, negative 6 and a positive 8 are different signs. So I subtract 8 minus 6 is 2x. And it's a positive 2 because 8 is bigger. I bring down my equal sign. 16 plus 2 is 18. So here I want to solve for x here. So this is 2 times x, so I cross it out. The opposite of times is divide. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So have x equals 9. Remember, my goal is to get x, comma, y. I want to find the point in which these two equations intersect. So I found my x part. Now I need to find my y part. Step 2 says bring over the simpler equation. Which one of these two is more simple? To me, again, you can choose either equation. It's going to give you the right answer. To me, the bottom equation is easier because it's all positives here. So I'm going to bring this one over here. So it's 8x plus 14y is equal to 2. Step 3 says plug in known variables. So which one do I know? Which x or y? I know what x is already. I solved for x. X is equal to 9. I already solved for x. So I'm going to write in this equation, but instead of writing x, I'm going to put a parentheses 9. 8, parentheses 9, and then I'm going to write the rest of it. Plus 14y is equal to 2. I'm going to draw my line of separation. In the end, I want to solve for y. That's my goal. 8 times 9 is 72, right? I'm immediately going to move this 72 over, and it's going to become a negative 72. A positive 2 and a negative 72 are not the same sign, so I'm going to subtract 72 minus 2 is 70. And it's going to be a negative 70 because 72 is bigger and it's a negative. And I'm going to bring down my 14y. And this is 14 times y, so I'm going to cross out 14 and I'm going to divide by 14. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. And 70 divided by 14 is 5. So I get y is equal to negative 5. So now I have my xy, x and y. So my answer is x is 9, comma, y is negative 5. So if I graphed these two equations here, they would cross at 9, negative 5. Okay. Now this second example, we also have to multiply first, but we have to multiply by a negative number. So let me see here, let me highlight this. Multiply by a negative number first. I have to multiply by a negative number first. Now, let's look at the equations. Eliminate one variable. 4x and 8x, 5y and 7y. There's no way that I can make this 5 into a 7. I can't multiply anything by 5 to make it 7. But I can multiply this 4 to make it an 8. But I need to do more than make it an 8, though. I need to make it a negative 8. So it'll eliminate with this positive 8. So what I'm going to do, I know I have to multiply it by 2 to make it 8. But I'm going to multiply it by negative 2 to make it negative 8. So I'm going to distribute this negative 2 here. I'm going to distribute this negative 2 here. And I'm going to distribute this negative 2 here. So negative 2 times 4 is, and I'm going to put it right under here. Look, so I don't have to rewrite this one. Negative 8x. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10y. Negative 2 can't forget my equal sign. Negative 2 times 13 is negative 26. I'm going to draw my line there. Now, 8x and negative 8x, look at that. They cancel out. Positive 7 and negative 10y, they're different signs, so I got to subtract 10 minus 7 is 3y. And it's a negative 3 because 10 is the bigger integer and 10 is a negative. Equals. Positive 11 and negative 26 are not the same sign, so again I have to subtract. 26 minus 11 is 15. And again it's going to be negative because 26 is the bigger integer and 26 is negative. I'm going to draw my line of separation. My goal is to solve for y. So this is negative 3 times y. I'm going to cross out negative 3 and I'm going to divide by negative 3. Because the opposite of multiplying is dividing. The inverse of multiplying is dividing. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So I have my y. Right? I have my y. Remember, I want to find my x, comma, y. Right? So I have my y already. Step 2 says bring over the simpler equation. Which one of these two equations is more simple? Obviously, to me, this top equation is more simple because it doesn't deal with any negatives. So I'm going to bring this equation over and I'm going to say 8x plus 7y is equal to 11. Step 3 says plug in known variable. Well, I know that y is equal to 5. So I'm going to plug in 5 right here in the parentheses. So 8x plus 7 parentheses 5 is equal to 11. So I'm going to draw my line of separation here. My goal is to solve for x, right? So I'm going to multiply 7 times 5, and that gives me 35. So I'm going to immediately bring this 35 over, positive 35, and make it a negative 35. So I still have my 8x here on the left. Positive 11 and negative 35 are not the same sign, so I have to subtract. 35 minus 11 is 24. And this says 8 times x, so the inverse of multiplying is dividing. 24 divided by 8 is 3. So there's my x. I have my x. I have my y. So my solution, my ordered pair is x is 3, comma. Actually, you know what? This should be a negative x, right? Because look, this would be a negative 24 because my 35 is integer is bigger, and that's a negative. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. So this should be here, negative 3, comma, positive 5. And there you go. And that's my final solution for this bottom equation. Now, these are the two types of equations you're going to see in Delta Math as well, right? One where you have to multiply by a number first, a positive number first. Like here we multiplied by 2. And one where you have to multiply it by a negative number first, and here we multiplied by negative 2. Now, 2 and negative 2 are just an example, are just coincidence. It's not going to be 2 and negative 2 every single time, right? So do not fall into that trap, okay? Make sure that you have done these examples with me on your own piece of paper. You wrote the two equations. If not, rewind it, take your own piece of paper, write down the two equations, follow the steps with me one step at a time, and I promise you will understand this.